Welcome to Talented Detective. Today we're going to, a talented artist, David Léon, is found dead in his locked studio, with no sign of forced entry. Next to the body is an unfinished painting, containing mysterious inscriptions and codes. Detective Ethan Parker, who specializes in impossible cases, sets out to uncover the truth. The clues in the painting are laced with an underground art group, family conflicts, and a mysterious murder from the past. Can Ethan decipher the code in the painting and expose the elaborate criminal scheme? Or will the killer continue to lurk in the shadows? Part 1: Ethan Parker and his first case. Ethan Parker, a young inspector famous for his excellent analytical skills and logical thinking, has just moved to the city to take up a new job. With neat black hair, sharp eyes, and a tall figure, he often impresses with his confident and decisive demeanor. However, Ethan's past is full of pain. The mysterious death of his sister many years ago urged him to choose the path of solving crimes, determined to bring the truth to light. On his first day of work, Ethan was assigned a shocking case. Famous painter David Léon was found dead in his office. This was not an ordinary case because the room was locked from the inside, with no signs of forced entry. Ethan arrived at the scene, where David's office was full of art, but also strange. Surrealist paintings hung all over the walls, each telling a different story. In the center of the room, an unfinished painting lay on an easel. Next to it lay the body of David Léon, still holding a brush stained with dark red paint. The door was locked, the windows were closed. After a careful inspection, Ethan discovered a suspicious clue, a small scratch on the edge of the desk. He opened the desk drawer and found a notebook with several pages that had been torn out. On the remaining pages were only a few single words such as light, darkness, and traitor. However, the focus of Ethan's attention was the unfinished painting. The intricate strokes on it were not only art, but also seemed to be a mysterious code. Ethan took careful notes, took pictures of the entire scene, and began to ask questions. How did the killer commit the crime in this locked room? And what was hidden in David Léon's last painting? This opening marks Ethan's involvement in a difficult case, opening up a journey to find the truth with countless dangers awaiting. Part 2: The first clues. After leaving the scene, Ethan spent some time reviewing the evidence he had collected. In particular, he focused on the unfinished painting of David Léon. The seemingly random strokes began to evoke a familiar image. In the middle of the painting, there was a circle surrounding strange characters. Ethan quickly realized that these characters were not ordinary letters but an ancient code. To clarify, Ethan decided to visit Dr. Margaret Hale, a leading expert in art history and cryptography. Margaret was a sharp-witted middle-aged woman with a strong passion for historical mysteries. After examining the painting, Margaret immediately realized that these characters belonged to a type of code used in secret organizations in the 18th century. She suspected that David Léon was trying to convey an important message related to a conspiracy or a secret. Meanwhile, Ethan also interrogated people related to David. The first person was Lucas Miller, the victim's personal assistant. Lucas was a nervous-looking young man, constantly looking around as if he was afraid of something. During the conversation, Lucas revealed that David had been worried recently and mentioned traitors. However, Lucas did not know specifically who David was referring to. Lucas also said that David had been in a secret group of artists, where artwork was often used as a means of conveying messages. But this group was also full of conflicts and rivalries, especially with the appearance of a mysterious man named Alaric. When returning to the police station, Ethan discovered another clue. David's phone contained an unsent recording, in which his panicked voice rang out, "They are coming, if I disappear, look for the light." This cryptic statement made Ethan believe that David had predicted his own death. Ethan also received a preliminary forensic report. A strong sedative was detected in David's blood, but there were no signs of a struggle or forced entry. This made the case even more puzzling. If David had been poisoned, why was there no sign of forced entry in the room? The initial facts began to piece together, but they also opened up a series of new questions. Who was the traitor David mentioned? What secrets were hidden in the light he spoke of? And was the secret group of artists involved in David's death? Ethan knew he was entering a maze full of mysteries, and even the smallest mistake could cost him dearly. 2.136 5.000 Part 3: The secret behind the light. Ethan begins to focus on the message, "Search in the light," left by David. After analyzing the painting and the testimony of the people involved, he realizes that light can be literal or figurative. In David's office, the paintings are illuminated by a special lighting system. Ethan decides to return to the scene to examine every small detail. In the office, Ethan closely observes the paintings and experiments by changing the lighting angle. He discovers that when the light is angled, hidden letters appear on the unfinished painting that cannot be seen with the naked eye. These letters are arranged to form a phrase, LAST. Ethan does not immediately understand the meaning of this phrase. He brings the new clue to Dr. Margaret Hale. Margaret speculates that LAST may be an abbreviation for a longer phrase or the name of a location. After some investigation, they discover that the phrase coincides with the name of a small but mysterious gallery on the outskirts of town. This gallery is rumored to host secret auctions for underground art. Ethan decides to go to the gallery to investigate. There, he meets Alaric, who Lucas had mentioned before. Alaric is a famous artist with an unusual style, but he is also a calculating man. He greets Ethan with a cold face, refusing to answer any questions about David Léon. However, Alaric's eyes flash with caution when Ethan mentions the phrase, LAST. While investigating the gallery, Ethan discovers a secret room in the back. Here, he finds a collection of documents and photos related to David, including a handwritten contract. The contract shows that David agreed to do a painting for Alaric, but then withdrew it for unknown reasons. Ethan suspects that this may be the cause of the conflict between the two. As Ethan leaves the exhibition hall, he is suddenly attacked by a strange car. He manages to dodge but realizes that he is being followed. Obviously, this case does not stop at David's death. Part 4. Unveiling the conspiracy. After the surprise attack, Ethan understands that the case has gone beyond the scope of a normal murder. He immediately reports the incident to the police team and requests increased protection for witnesses and collected documents. However, the feeling that someone in the dark is always watching him makes Ethan uneasy. Ethan returns to the police station to analyze the data collected from the gallery. The contract between David Léon and Alaric is the key point. Why did David back out after agreeing to cooperate? A surprise happens when he receives news from Margaret Hale. She finds out that the phrase, LAST, is not only the name of the gallery, but also stands for Luminance Art Secret Trade, a secret organization specializing in trading and exchanging works of art for illicit purposes. Margaret explains that the organization does more than just trade in art, it also uses art as a means of encryption to exchange secret information, including illegal activities. Ethan recalls David's unfinished painting and realizes that it may contain important information that David was trying to convey before he was murdered. Ethan decides to analyze the unfinished painting further. Using UV light to examine it, he discovers a map hidden under the paint. The map points to an old house on the edge of town, a place that once belonged to David Léon. In this house, Ethan finds a secret room hidden behind a bookshelf. Inside, there are many documents related to the LAST organization, including a list of members, transactions, and an unsent letter from David. In the letter, David writes, "I made a mistake by joining LAST. What they did was beyond my imagination. I can't let my art become a tool for them. If anything happens to me, find Alaric, he's the one who keeps all the secrets." Ethan quickly gathers enough evidence to summon Alaric. At the police station, Alaric initially denies any involvement, but when Ethan shows him the documents he found in David's house, he begins to panic. Ethan presses him with the question, "What did David find that made him quit the organization?" Alaric finally confesses that David discovered the organization was using art to launder money and pass on confidential information for illegal activities. When David refuses to complete the contract painting, he becomes a target for elimination. However, Alaric insists that he is not the culprit. Ethan does not completely believe Alaric's testimony. He decides to work with the investigation team to track down other members on the LAST list. Finally, one name stands out, Lucas Miller, David's assistant. Ethan summons Lucas again and presents evidence that he had secretly contacted Alaric just before David's death. Lucas has no way to deny it. He admits that he cooperated with the organization to track David, but claims that he only did it out of fear. However, when Ethan presents a phone recording between Lucas and another member of the organization, the truth is revealed. It was Lucas who poisoned David and staged the scene as a locked room case. Lucas claims that he did not expect David to leave a message in the painting. David's murder was only to cover up the organization's activities, but it was the artist's intelligence that trapped Lucas. With all the evidence in hand, Ethan solves the case, exposing the LAST organization and the secrets behind it. Lucas and the members involved are arrested. David Leon's final painting, instead of being a tool of evil, is now the key to bringing justice to light. However, Ethan knows that his journey is not over yet. What he has just experienced is only the tip of the iceberg, and the hidden forces behind the LAST organization are still somewhere, waiting to strike back. Part 5, Confronting the Darkness. While David Leon's official project is solved, Ethan Parker still can't escape the ongoing images of what happened. Although Lucas and the members of the LAST organization have been arrested and brought to trial, a sense of unease still haunts him. The ghosts of the past, the dark forces he exposed during his investigation, do not easily disappear. Although justice has been served, Ethan cannot have any mind, because the secrets behind this technical technology organization have not been fully revealed. After returning from his final investigative life, Ethan begins to realize that something strange is going on. One evening, when he returns home after a stressful day at work, he discovers a strange painting hanging on the living room wall, a painting that has never appeared during the investigation. This painting was not an ordinary work of art, but contained a new code, an unknown message. The drawings in the painting were strange and complex, with strange characters arranged in a way that only those who understood art and cryptography could decipher. The image on the painting reminded Ethan of the unresolved connections in the previous mission, and it felt like it was leading him to another mission, one that had yet to be discovered. It was their intelligence and cunning that helped them maintain their power and influence all this time, making Ethan realize that the battle he was fighting was not just to uncover the project, but to confront those enemies whose deceitful faces he could not find. During the long nights of contemplation, Ethan felt more and more anxious. The threats had begun to appear again. Sometimes they were anonymous calls, sometimes they were strange images sent to his phone. This feeling of insecurity made him unable to rest easy. He knew that he had stepped too deep into the luxury of a vast and dark sound, and now there was no turning back. Every step he took could lead to unexpected patterns. At this point, Ethan began to feel clearly that she was not only facing a complex of art technology, but also a war against forces hidden deep within society. This painting, with all its sophistication and mystery, made it impossible for him to think about things he did not fully understand. The forces behind LAST could still exist, lurking in the shadows, and they would certainly not be easily ignored. One day, while reviewing old documents, Ethan discovered a document that had been forgotten for a moment. This file contained information about important members of the LAST organization that he had never known. These names point to untapped connections that, if exposed, could cause the entire city to shake. From there, Ethan begins to clearly realize that adjusting the members of this organization is not only to find the killer but also to find the deep reason why they can exist and operate in the dark for so long. The truth is that Ethan is pursuing not only cyber projects or secret organizations, but also a survival between good and evil. This journey not only has dangerous words on the outside but also contains psychological dangers. Not only does Ethan have to deal with calculating criminals, but he also has to fight with himself, with the memories of his sister's death, with the pain that has never subsided. One night, while Ethan was following the clues from the new painting, he suddenly felt a strange presence. A dark figure appeared outside the window, and in the blink of an eye, the figure disappeared. Ethan immediately realized that he was being followed. This feeling was no longer speculation, but an obvious truth. He was caught up in a dangerous game, and the people behind it had no intention of letting him escape easily. The painting is not just a simple work of art, but part of a larger plan, a conspiracy that, if left unsolved, will continue to affect the entire city. Ethan begins to track the movements of those in the LAST organization. As he gets closer to the truth, Ethan begins to understand that the LAST organization is not just an underground art organization, but also part of an international criminal network. The organization's illegal activities include money laundering, trading in confidential information, and conducting illegal transactions under the guise of art. Therefore, Ethan decided to act quickly and decisively. He returned to Dr. Margaret Hale, who had always accompanied him on his investigations. The two decided to work together to decipher this strange painting, hoping to find untapped connections. Margaret, with her extensive experience in cryptography and art history, discovers that the symbols in the painting are not only cryptic, but also contain important instructions. And with each painting, each work of art they own, they have encoded secret messages, clandestine transactions that only those within the organization can understand. As the days pass, Ethan realizes that this confrontation is not just a simple investigation, but a life-and-death battle. The feeling of helplessness and loneliness always surrounds him, but he knows that he cannot stop. This case has become a part of his life, a never-ending battle, and every step he takes can lead to death. Not only does he face danger from criminals, but he also has to face the fact that some people in the art world and the police may also have ties to this organization. These complicated relationships make it impossible for Ethan to trust anyone, and he must act alone, tracking his enemy's every move. This war will not end when he is caught, but will continue forever, with constant threats and ghosts from the past still haunting him. Ethan knows that this journey of his will never end. The case in the locked room is just one part of a larger story, one where the shadows always surround, waiting to strike again. Thank you for watching the detective video with a talented detective on a dramatic and exciting crime-solving journey. Detective stories are not only about unexpected cases but also lessons about intelligence, courage, and belief in justice. Please continue to watch and share so we can discover more interesting mysteries together. See you in the next stories. Don't forget, the secret is always very close, just waiting for someone observant enough to discover it. Ethan realizes that the forces he is confronting will never spare those who know too much. The people in the LAST organization have helped each other escape justice, and now, they will not easily let him break their conspiracy.